Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. It is a sad commentary in this world that many do not think that God is good unless he blesses them materially. God is great when I am provided with a spouse, with children, with a job, with money, or with anything that I desire. God is bad, though, when calamity strikes, when I'm laid off, when I get a chronic illness, when somebody I love dies. Immediately, many seek to blame God for the many ills that happen in this life. But as we're learning here in Job, even though God allows suffering to exist, he allows it for a certain reason, not the least of which is that we live in a world of sin. But he is not the cause of suffering, for either the devil is responsible or we are responsible because of our sin. Suffering, however, is a way to strengthen our faith. The phrase, no pain, no gain, is often applied to physical exercise and strength. Well, spiritual exercise and strength can also be applied here. And who better to examine this through but Job? So if you have a Bible with you then, you can turn to the book of Job, to Job chapter 1. We're going to be reading from verses 13 to 22. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So Job chapter 1, beginning at verse 13. Now there was a day when the sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and a messenger came to Job and said, The oxen were plowing and the donkeys feeding beside them, when the Sabeans raided them and took them away. Indeed, they have killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another also came and said, The fire of God fell from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another also came and said, The Chaldeans formed 3 bands, raided the camels and took them away, yes, and killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another also came and said, Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and suddenly a great wind came from across the wilderness and struck the 4 corners of the house, and it fell on the young people, and they are dead, and I alone have escaped to tell you. Then Job arose, tore his robe, and shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped. And he said, Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this Job did not sin nor charge God with wrong. Remember from the last lesson, Satan has challenged God by saying that Job only worshiped God because God blessed him. If Job's blessings were taken away, Job would curse God to his face. And so in order for his goodness to be vindicated and for Satan to be proven wrong, God allowed Satan to remove Job's blessings, but not to touch the body of Job. It should be noted here that Job knows nothing of what has transpired here. We have been given the peek behind the curtain, but Job wasn't. In fact, Job is never going to be given that peek either in the text of this book, even at the end. Only readers of Job later are given this insight. Knowing this is important, for when these calamities strike, the servants, and later Job's friends, are going to say that this was from the Lord, caused by the Lord. That will not be correct, but from their perspective, it is understandable why they thought this. Coming to verse 13, and we learn how Satan went about removing Job's blessings. He did this in 4 stages. And the day he chose was the day of joy and feasting, perhaps around one of the children's birthdays or some festival. Regardless, it was a time of celebration. How often it seems that calamity comes to us when we are least expecting it, when all seems to be quiet about us, when everything is prospering, even at times of the year when our hearts are elated within us. I lost my grandfather when I was 11 on the day before New Year's Eve. When I was 23, my mother was diagnosed with cancer not too long before Valentine's Day, but thankfully she survived that. But when I was 35, I lost my father to cancer not too long before Christmas. These are all supposed to be happy times of the year, but they were times of sorrow for me. But even still, these times of sorrow were not comparable to what Job faced, for on one day, he seemingly lost it all. One servant came into the field and said that the Sabeans came and took all the oxen and donkeys away and killed the servants in the field. Only he was left alive. The Sabeans would have been from central to southern Saudi Arabia, but in pure wealth, Job lost quite a bit here, not only in animals, but in the ability to plow land and grow crops using those animals and the manpower that accompanied it. If that wasn't bad enough, a second servant came and said that the fire from God, lightning, fell from heaven and burned up the sheep and servants, and only he survived to come and tell Job. Now, obviously, this wasn't a normal lightning storm that did this, hence why this was attributed to God, even though we know it wasn't God. The loss of the sheep and manpower would have again been another hit to the financial well-being of Job. So Job was having a bad day when another servant came in and said the Chaldeans had come from the east and took all of the camels away, killing all the servants along the way except the one who escaped to tell Job. So with all this being said, Job had lost all of his material wealth, meaning it would be hard for him to provide food for his family or animals for sacrifices to God, as well as anything to trade with the people around him for other things. But things are just things. He still had his family, right? Well, sadly, a fourth servant came and said that a strong sandstorm, possibly a tornado, had come and collapsed the house where his children were feasting, and they are all dead, except the servant who came to tell him. With the exception of his wife, who we'll meet in chapter 2, Job had lost everything he had obtained in this world. He came into this world naked from his mother's womb, and he would return to Mother Earth's womb, as it were, the dust of the earth, naked as well. But would Job curse God as Satan had predicted? The answer was an emphatic no. Instead, Job said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Blessed be the name of the Lord. Would we be able to say that if we were in Job's position? I would hope so. But if that is to be true, we must have the faith of Job, the love of God that Job had, and the desire to do and be right like Job did. He recognized that the Lord is the one who blesses, but the Lord can remove those blessings too, which he did by allowing Satan to afflict Job. But he could serve God in whatever physical state he was in, and he knew that God would be pleased with his faithful worship, no matter what physical state he was in. People like Job is likely where the Apostle Paul drew strength from, where in Philippians chapter 4, verses 10 to 13, there he said, "But I rejoice in the Lord greatly, that now at last your care for me has flourished again, though you surely did care, but you lacked opportunity. Not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Paul could do all the things that God wanted him to do through Christ who provided him strength, even if he didn't provide him physical goods. Job could bless the name of God for all that God did in the past, and he could glorify God for even the present, for Job hadn't lost his salvation, nor had his children for that matter, as they were all offering sacrifices with Job serving as priest. In all this, Job did not sin nor charge God with wrong. Before closing, I would like to say two things about Satan. First of all, Satan has the ability to be powerful when God allows him. He tempted the peoples who came up as raiders to do that which they already wanted to do, and they did so. Satan didn't force them to, but he gave them a little extra nudge, and they came and stole from Job and killed his servants. Satan caused those storms to happen that killed Job's sheep, his servants, and his children. But Satan is not all-powerful. His power can be and was restrained by God. Nor is Satan all-knowing. Satan vowed and declared that if Job's blessings were removed, that Job would curse God to his face, while in reality, Job blessed God to his face. Satan was wrong, and God was vindicated. Job was the upright man that God knew that he was, and now the angels of heaven and Satan himself knew it. But the story is not done, as we say. There is a sequel in chapter 2, so we invite you back for that lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you join us for tomorrow's discussion of Job chapter 2, verses 1 to 13, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.